struggle for freedom.
Final Fantasy IX got a bit of a raw deal back in 2000, releasing for the PS1 in North American markets on November 14th of that year.
Returns. Rated T for teen. Square soft.
Overshadowing this was the fact that the highly anticipated PlayStation 2 had just hit the market less than 3 weeks before, just in time for the holiday season as the hottest ticket for holiday sales by far.
There are waiting lists and tickets just to stand in line and get a chance to buy PlayStation 2. That is PlayStation 2, the hottest game to hit the market, and it arrives in the U.S. tomorrow.
That's right, and as you heard, there are only 24 that are going to be delivered to this target right here, so you got to come get in line early. And don't expect this to be the last video game rush. The competitors are working hard. Have some information here. Microsoft is working on releasing their console called the Xbox, and in the fall of 2001, Nintendo will be releasing their GameCube. So everybody is going to be rushing to the stores for that one.
The competition was hot on the PS2's heels, further relegating the PS1 to the back shelves, and with minimal marketing in the US to back it, certainly didn't give 9 the best chance to reach a wider audience. Japan, on the other hand, got the game earlier, July 7th of 2000.
Final Fantasy IX.
And had loads of marketing, including this fun Coca-Cola spot that's just too adorable. I've made no secret of my love for Final Fantasy IX, and it was really an impulse buy on my part back in 2001. With the PS2 already on store shelves, a brand new PS1 was selling for a mere $50 at my local Walmart. The art on the game's cover drew me in, and I pulled the trigger on a new old system just to play this game. See, having grown up in a house with an Atari 2600, an NES, and later the Super NES, I played lots of Final Fantasy on those old consoles, and right into early adulthood, they always resonated, especially Final Fantasy IV and VI, both of which were Super NES titles, and both were heavy on the fantasy and medieval elements, something that more recent PS1 entries, Final Fantasy VII and VIII, both lacked. Probably why I just couldn't get into those two. From the moment I fired up my new PS1, I was hooked. Final Fantasy series creator Hironobu Sakaguchi would say that 9 was his favorite in the series as it's closest to my ideal view of what Final Fantasy should be. Plus, he backed it up in 2017.
Hey, I'm here with Hironobu Sakaguchi-san, the creator of Final Fantasy, and he has something very important to say.
I like 9, of course.
Final Fantasy IX is the best. Well, you heard it here from the man himself. So here you go. And so the debate is finally over. You heard it from the man himself.
The music was like no other in the series, with longtime series composer Nobuo Uematsu writing 140 different tracks that would go on to be used in the game, many of which hold up well to this day. No lie, I listened to the full soundtrack on a loop as my work music for probably 5 years straight. It always puts me in a place where I feel calm and confident, and honestly the music is a major reason why this game is so near and dear to me. Sidebar, how about this review where the game gets a really great overall score, yet somehow the guy craps on the music? Like, what? Look, David Smith, even Uematsu himself said that 9 was, without hesitation, his favorite work in the series. Even he thinks your take sucks. Exhale. The music and the visuals mesh together perfectly to form a world you can look forward to getting lost in. And that's before we even talk about the character development, which gets really deep, especially in the storyline of the games, and arguably the series' most iconic and lovable character, Vivi the Black Mage. Following Vivi along as he learned some hard truths about the world and his own origins and ultimately his destiny is both a truly heartwarming and heartbreaking journey, and I can say with honesty, over my dozen or so playthroughs in the last 23 years, gets me right in the boo-boo every time. It's why I come back every so often. It makes me feel like I've come home. Despite the screwing this game took due to the fact it was released on a console doomed to extinction and thus minimally marketed, Final Fantasy IX was actually critically acclaimed, scoring a 94 on the Metacritic website, the highest rating for any Final Fantasy game in the series. IGN also gave it a 9.2 out of 10. David Smith. The game got a little bit of a facelift when it was re-released for Steam in 2016 and a port for PS4 in 2017. The moving characters, battles, summon animations, and full-motion videos were the biggest beneficiaries of this upgrade, with excellent detail, especially on our main cast. They also added cheat options such as max damage, speed mode, and ability to bypass random encounters. However, the upgrade didn't address any of the static backgrounds in this way, making the improvements stick out like a sore thumb at times against backdrops that were still muddy and needing an update every bit as much as the parts they did improve upon. The default font they picked was also bland and didn't really feel like Final Fantasy IX. Overall, it was an improvement, yes, but it definitely felt like corners were cut, and it was hard not to be just a little disappointed in the port. Steam users on PC were given perhaps the greatest gift of 2018 with the release of the Moguri mod, a fan-made, completely free add-on that cleaned up these backgrounds in a way that makes them jive so much better with the revamped character animations. Using a combination of AI enhancements and a delicate human artist's touch, each individual static background was a complete remastering, bringing them up to par with the improved animated elements. The mod also has options for a remastered soundtrack composed by Pontus Hultgren, as well as the original PS1 game font if you want to go that route. Lots of fun cheats, and it's been updated several times with improvements and bug fixes along the way. It's also an option to modify a certain file within the Moguri mod so you can use whatever font you want to. I personally go that route for the Let's Play I've currently got going. The Steam version on PC with the Moguri mod is the definitive way to play the game in 2023, and for anyone wanting to get into Final Fantasy IX now, this is the way. That said, it's on my bucket list to re-experience the game one last time on an original PS1 with a CRT monitor, just for old time's sake. When the COVID-19 pandemic stopped the world in 2020, many of us reached for an old familiar friend to help pass the time during lockdown: nostalgia. Some took it up a notch and used nostalgia to fuel creativity, and so it was that video game artists and fellow Final Fantasy IX diehards Dan Eder and Colin Valick dreamed up a reimagining of the game's iconic Alexandria Tavern, featuring our beloved Vivi. I remember seeing this artwork pop up via Twitter, and it was one of the coolest things I'd ever seen, straight up. Goosebumps. Fellow artist Kem Yaralioglu took note of this effort, and the trio decided to work together on what would come to be known as the Memoria Project, a non-playable passion project led by a team of professional developers and artists in the video game industry that aims to reimagine what the legendary game would look like if it was remade with modern graphical capabilities. By its completion, the project's team had grown to around 50 contributors, all donating their time and talent to the finished project. I encourage you to visit their website before or after you've seen the finished project, as it's a great resource. Memoria Project would use Unreal Engine 5, which is a completely free 3D creation tool that artists can do amazing things with. I mean, check out Kem's work process on Memoria Project that he's been gracious enough to share with us. The level of detail is so incredible to me, considering my first memories of this game looked something like this. The project would release a few teaser trailers and updates along the way, which definitely upped the buzz for not only what the final project would look like, but helping spark the discussion among the fandom. Could the dream of a full, playable Final Fantasy IX remake actually be realized? With the Memoria Project already underway and gaining steam in late 2021, news had hit the gaming world about a leak from Nvidia that contained a list of potential upcoming games, some of which ended up ultimately being released or at least announced to be in development, including Chrono Cross, Final Fantasy VII Remake, and Kingdom Hearts 4. This gave the leak some semblance of credibility among gaming enthusiasts. Among the games on that leaked list, a Final Fantasy IX remake. Now, all that said, Square Enix has never outright confirmed that this is happening. So as of the time of this video, anything regarding an official remake are nothing more than rumors. I'll say it now though, I'd be first in line to fork over my hard-earned cashish to buy a new console that I'd probably only ever use to play a 9 remake. Square Enix, are you listening? Take my money, please. That said, if the rumors are even remotely true, Squeenix would be well served to pay close attention to the work done by the talented artists on the Memoria Project, as on June 7th, 2023, the long-awaited final project was released on YouTube for all to see. The project's focus was only ever going to be on the opening Alexandria portion of the game, but even with such a limited scope, it was an incredible amount of work, especially considering the team constructed a 360-degree, fully functioning three-dimensional town from pre-rendered static backgrounds. At least the Memoria team had the upscaled backgrounds from the Moguri mod to work with versus the pixelated PS1 originals. The truly awe-inspiring part for me is the ability to create a three-dimensional space from two-dimensional images. This means inventing areas of the game that were either not there previously or could just simply not be seen because we're talking about 2D images here. Kem Yaralioglu's posts on his ArtStation.com account are a treasure trove of behind-the-scenes looks into his process, and this diagram of how he created the three-dimensional space is truly eye candy. It's so cool to see all the individual assets all laid out, how much work went into building the individual pieces, and then making them all fit together to recreate a place that we Final Fantasy IX fans have been so familiar with for so long. Seeing it from a whole new perspective, Vivi's perspective specifically, gives it so much more depth and it blends in so seamlessly with landmarks we already know, like the tavern for example, that even when we see things that are new, our mind tells us it's always been like that. That's a testament to the amount of care and attention to detail that went into this whole project. Let's not forget, folks, that this was a passion project, meaning each person who was a part of this was a part of a true labor of love, donating their time and talent. Nobody got paid to do it, and we all get to enjoy the fruits of their labor for the low, low price of free. 3 years of work went into what was 25 minutes of Christmas morning for this longtime Final Fantasy IX fan. Now let's open our gift. Final Fantasy IX opens with a scene depicting a small boat being tossed about in a violent storm, a repressed memory being experienced by one of the game's protagonists, Princess Garnet, who suddenly snaps out of it. The Memoria Project begins in that moment as we see the princess in her chambers. Just like the game, we're next in Alexandria town, where Vivi's just arrived, and he's just soaking it all in. This scene is great in that it does follow the game's opening cinematic pretty closely, but then also breaks off on its own and shows details of the bustling activity in this part of town, before cutting to Vivi, who's mesmerized by the huge theater ship known as the Prima Vista floating overhead. We also get a really nicely done series of close-ups of the Prima Vista and all its detail. The small camera shakes with these angles are a great touch. Lastly, we get a recreation of the iconic shot of the reflection in the giant blade protruding from Alexandria Castle. As the view pans out, we see the Prima Vista slowly approaching its destination. It is so spot on. Kudos to the team on this one. Final Fantasy IX begins immediately after this scene, and the player controls Vivi, who's very quickly run into by one of the many children scampering all over town, causing him to dwop his ticket. A little further up the street, he's bowled over again, this time by a pushy little rat kid named Puck, who gives Vivi grief before taking off. Memoria takes both of these moments and combines them into one, as Puck runs into Vivi, causing him to drop his ticket, and the exchange goes a little further.
Watch where you're going!
Sorry.
Can't you see I'm in a hurry?
He must be on his way to see the show, too.
Perhaps one of the best scene recreations was the ticket booth scene, where Vivi presents his ticket to the Ticketmaster and told it's a phony.
What's this? There's something odd about this ticket. Oh, why, it's another fake! I've seen so many today.
No.
Hearing Vivi's no vocalized just hits you even harder.
I know how you must feel. Here, I'll give you these. Do try to cheer up now, hmm?
I can't believe the ticket was fake. What am I going
In the
to do
original
now?
game, we know the ticket is fake because in our inventory it shows the ticket says the name of the play is I Want to Be Your Crow. The fake ticket in the Memoria Project is more subtle. Here the ticket says the show is on June 15th, but on the show poster, January 15th. A sweet Easter egg sits on the Ticketmaster's counter in the form of this spinning orb. That orb happens to be a little model of Ozma, one of the more legendary optional bosses in Final Fantasy IX. So remember the part about the tavern and in creating a whole new part of town based off of a static background image that didn't show said part of town?
Honorable nobles of Treno, Castle Alexandria is this way.
Yeah, they created a chocobo fountain and more exciting explorable space and even made sure to get Hip Hall in there for good measure too.
Wow, nobles are so spiffy.
This fountain looks to have been a nod toward Chocobo World, with Fat Chocobo sitting happily in the middle with 4 other Chocobos surrounding.
That big chocobo in the middle sure looks happy.
Since we're talking Chocobos, how about this moment? That's some love right there. We're also introduced to one of my favorite new things that Memoria gives us. Plushies of various characters just scattered around the town. This could only work with a game like Final Fantasy IX, and it just fits. Alexandria Town is home to a couple of the game's more well-known minigames. The jump rope minigame is one that rewards the player with items and cards the more jumps Vivi can make in a row, Once he's up to 1,000, Vivi is given the King of Jump Rope Award. Memoria goes all in on the jump rope minigame, and while he doesn't make it to 1,000, we do get a very sweet jumping animation of Vivi, and it takes its time.
Aw, better luck next time.
The other minigame reference is Hippal Racing, where Vivi agrees to run a series of street races against Hippal at the urging of his mama, who feels like her son sits around playing too many card games. Sounds familiar. Like the jump rope minigame, there are items and cards up for grabs as Hippal gets faster and the challenge gets tougher.
That race was intense. I need to work on my stamina.
I wonder why I never run out of breath.
In a realm where guilt and love entwine, a cryptic riddle I share of two souls in fate's design. Grieving and burdened, my sins I lament. In crystal seclusion, my penance is spent. Who am I?
This mysterious wanderer makes a couple of appearances in Memoria Project, just spewing riddles, but his character in Final Fantasy IX was a bit amusing. He starts out as Alleyway Jack, a four-armed fella who offers to teach Vivi the card game, but then goes on to say that Alleyway Jack isn't his real name. Much later in the game, he's so impressed with Zidane's treasure hunting prowess that he bestows us with the Rank S Treasure Hunter Award. Confesses he's just a small-time wannabe treasure hunter and that his real name is Gilgamesh. Gilgamesh is a character that's taken many forms in many Final Fantasy games, sometimes as a cameo, sometimes as a boss, sometimes as a primary character. The hotel in Alexandria town is staffed by a fish-faced guy and has to turn a potential guest away because there aren't any rooms available. In Memoria, it's done even better.
My esteemed guest, I regret to inform you that our inn is fully reserved for the coming month. We are currently hosting the upper echelons of society, including the venerated Regent Sid Fabul IX, the revered Princess Garnet, and...
Oh, he's just yanking your chain, kid. Inn's emptier than a beggar's banquet. Second floor, first room on the right. It's yours.
Almost at him.
Vivi gets to take a nap, awakens in the evening, and the mood changes entirely, even the music. Just magical. During his evening stroll, Vivi encounters the statue of the legendary sisters.
Feels like they're from another world.
These otherworldly ladies are the Magus Sisters, who made an appearance as boss characters in Final Fantasy IV and later took form as a summon in Final Fantasy X. Vivi later decides to walk back toward the Chocobo Fountain, where a couple of NPCs have a very good exchange.
Are we to believe that I want to be your canary can captivate us as much as the original story?
Well, if it doesn't, we'll at least have a splendid evening mocking its shortcomings, won't we?
We then get to see Vivi exploring all this new space, and in doing so, we find that Vivi's got some hops. Vivi leaps up and opens a treasure chest containing a piece of piano music, of which there are a couple to be had. In the original game, there's a piano pipe organ looking thing right next to the ticket booth, but it's just a part of the background. In Memoria, it's part of the experience. I might need a few minutes to get me shaken out of this cuteness overload. Vivi the virtuoso. On Vivi's first time heading down the alleyway, he encounters Dante the sign maker, who snaps at Vivi for making him mess up his sign. Clumsy begets clumsy? The Memoria Project takes this scene and just runs with it, fully voicing Dante.
Whew. That should do for now. It's been a long day. Can't believe I'm stuck working late while my wife's getting all fancy for the play.
Vivi encounters Puck again, who immediately tries to recruit Vivi to help him sneak into the castle to see the play.
Hey, you! Shrimp! You're the one with the phony ticket, ain't you? I saw the guy tell you it was fake.
Yeah, it's fake.
I'll let you see the show if you become my lackey. Well, what do you say?
Well, I don't know if that's such a good idea.
Great! Now for your first assignment. You go stand over there and see if anyone's coming. All clear?
Clear.
All right, engage according to mission parameters.
The next part of the alleyway is truly impressive. On the static map, it rounds the corner and ends at a small dock. So again, knowing this is all based off of one image, as Vivi's character rounds the alley corner, we're getting a view of things we wouldn't have seen in the original game. Ken the Drunk is a hilarious touch in the dark alleyway too. I mean, as a recovering alcoholic, I've been that guy more times than I care to admit. Too funny. As Vivi gets to the dock and the camera gives us a slow and scenic 180-degree turn at the waterline, we settle into the angle that the static map shows us, and it feels so familiar once again. Eventually, in the game, Vivi does follow the ladder-laden Puck into the steeple and up into the bell tower, and this is where Stiltskin, the traveling Moogle, makes his first of many appearances in the game as well. The Memoria Project saved some of their best work on the steeple interior. While the original static map would allow the character to move behind the column in the center, Memoria's Vivi runs a circle around the steeple, allowing us a full view, and what we get to see is truly a feast for the eyes. I'll give you an unadulterated look at the details on the inside before breaking it down, because there's a ton of references and Easter eggs that we'll get into. Amazing, right? So let's dive deeper. First, the stained glass windows and the static map aren't very detailed and don't really demand all that much attention. But in Memoria, not only are they beautifully detailed, they point to several other locations in the Final Fantasy IX game world. Alexandria Castle with Wings is a reference to a powerful magical eidolon known as Alexandria that protects itself with huge wings. It's even alluded to earlier in the Memoria Project.
Alexandria has wings.
Another location that's referenced is Elvert, an ancient structure with an anti-magic barrier. Any resemblance to a phallus is purely coincidental, I'm sure. Here's an underwater area in the late game known as Memoria, where there's a hidden optional boss battle with Hades and access to his top-of-the-line synth shop if you defeat him. Also, the Aoife tree is depicted. This huge mystical tree that rose into the clouds was a big point of contention in the middle of Final Fantasy IX's story. Do you like Final Fantasy VII? Here's some references to that game. The music turns slightly sinister here as Vivi approaches a treasure chest containing the key to the mansion, a reference to the key to the basement. The one-winged Moogle plushie is a nod to the final boss in Final Fantasy VII, Sephiroth. Around the corner is a bed of Aerith's flowers and Cloud's legendary Buster Sword plunged into the earth. Vivi connects with Stiltskin the Moogle for maximum chibi.
I see you've been collecting some plushies, Kubo. I have a special one just for you.
Lastly, Vivi makes it up the ladder where Puck awaits him.
We're almost there. Just across the rooftops and up over the castle wall. Come on! Let me guess. You're afraid of heights, aren't you? Hey, just think about how awesome the play will be once we make it across. You've made it this far, kid.
Right.
Those privileged Treno nobles. It ain't fair how they get all those tickets, and they should go to others like us. Oh yeah, I don't even know your name. My name's Puck.
My name's Vivi.
Vivi, huh? You got a funny name. Pleased to meet you.
Ooh, goosebumps. You definitely don't want to be skipping the credits either, as we get more incredible music and other footage not used in the project, including Vivi trying on new hats and the Lazy Moogle Cafe. My hat's off to each and every person who contributed to this masterful effort. Your project is the best gift for Final Fantasy IX fans to date. Let's keep our fingers crossed that the rumors of a 9 remake turn out to be more than rumors. All we can do is wait. Thanks so much for making it to the end of this video. This is my first stab at something like this, and I'd really love to know what you think. Who knows, and if you liked it well enough, maybe I'll make more Final Fantasy content. And if I missed other references or Easter eggs, feel free to clue me in the comments. I'm sure I didn't catch all of them. Feel free to subscribe to my channel. I do have a Final Fantasy IX Let's Play happening as we speak, and every so often I post puzzle and treasure hunt videos. Or, don't subscribe if that's not your thing. Until next time, Truck out.